But we don't want to get so busy doing the work of the Lord that we forget about the Lord of the work. You don't want to get so busy serving that you forget to spend time with Him. So what is needed? Our relationship with Christ is needed the most. Our time with God is needed more. Our service will come out of that relationship because we'll actually start seeing things that God wants us to take care of. Loving our neighbors and stuff like that. We'll see that out of the relationship and we'll go do it. If you're trying to approach God though through your service, there's an issue there. It's not like I really messed up Monday and Tuesday. I better go do something for God to make up for it Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That's not how this works. We have a relationship with God first. He takes care of all the problems that we've messed up on. Yeah, verses 38 through 41. So, good morning. Welcome back to Shasta Valley Christian Fellowship. We are back in Luke 10. We're going to finish it out. It's only a few verses. So we should be able to get through it all, I hope. Basically, this is Jesus at the home of Martha and Mary. These are people that he was very close to. Martha, Mary, and their brother Lazarus. They lived within, I think it's maybe 3/4 of a mile from Jerusalem, the little village they were in, which made a very convenient place to visit for the holidays because they could walk from their place to the temple and still be within that Sabbath day's walk. And they were very nice. They opened up their house to Jesus apparently multiple times, and he was very close to the whole family. So that's where we're going to start at. Like I said, just a few verses. Let's go ahead and jump into it. Okay, Luke 10, verses 38 through 42. Thank you, that was corrected. Verse 38. As Jesus and his disciples were on their way, he came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to him. She had a sister called Mary, who sat at the Lord's feet listening to what he said. But Martha was distracted by all the preparations that had to be made. She came to him and asked, "Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do the work by myself? Tell her to help me." "Martha, Martha," the Lord answered, "you are worried and upset about many things, but few things are needed, or indeed only one. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her." Very short little passage, but there is a lot in here that we should talk about. So again, this is Martha and Mary. There are a lot of different Marys in the Bible. I'm not going to go down through the whole list of them. But this is Mary, the sister of Lazarus and Martha. So he shows up. Martha's invited him in. Obviously, Martha is probably the older of the two because known as her house that they're at. And as a gracious host, she's invited him in. She's taking care of all the preparations. The one word that's missing out of the NIV that your guys' versions probably have, if you have something other than the NIV, is also.
Where? Where's the word also?
It's in verse 39. If someone from the King James reads it, or an American Standard, or Holman Christian, or pretty much any other version.
What does yours say, Laura?
And she had a sister called Mary, which also sat at Jesus' feet and heard his word.
Okay, which also. So the reason that word's important is missing from I'm not sure why it's missing from the NIV. I haven't figured that out yet. But the reason it's important is it shows that Mary was also doing the serving, but she was sitting at the Lord's feet. It's not like she totally neglected everything on the serving side. She was probably involved with the serving at the beginning of the meal or whatever, and now that part was done, and she was just sitting there listening to Jesus, as Martha was still going about the cleanup and maybe washing dishes or whatever she had to do.
Which was tradition for the.
Yeah, actually, I'm glad you brought that up. It was very uncommon for a woman to sit there while a rabbi was teaching. Don't look at this as good and bad, right? This is kind of like good and better.
Yeah.
Martha's doing a great thing by inviting them in and serving them and having that servant's heart. We need the Marthas around here. We need the people that will go in and make preparations. Our church is clean this morning. It didn't do that by itself. It wasn't because someone was sitting here listening to someone else, talk. It's because people came in and did the work to clean it.
Yeah, Jesus wouldn't be having something to eat right there if it wasn't for
Right.
somebody fixing
If someone prepared.
right?
So the service is good, but there is something better. And the better thing is to work on that relationship with Jesus, to draw closer to Jesus, right? To sit at his feet and listen. So, like I said, I'm picturing this as being towards like the end of the meal. Maybe everybody's been fed. And so Martha's probably cleaning up, which I'm sure there's...
Picking up all the cups and the
We don't know how many people were there.
We don't.
Was this just Jesus in the inner three? Was this Jesus in the 12? Was this Jesus in the 72 or the multitude? We really don't know how many people were actually there.
Do we know, like, as far as the timeline of when he first started his ministry towards the end, where this is? Because wouldn't that kind of tell us how many people were there?
Not necessarily.
No.
But I think this
He got
is...
more popularity, right?
Yeah.
As he went on.
I want to say this is nearing the end of the ministry, actually.
And he was.
'Cause his
30,
last-
right?
So, huh?
Excuse me, he was 30, right?
When he started.
When he started,
I
what?
thought he was 12 when he started.
No, okay. Hey, hold on here. There's several things going on. Okay. He was 12 years old at the temple.
Okay.
He started doing his ministry when he was 30. He was crucified about 3 years later. So he would have died when he was 33. He only had about 3 years of actually active ministry.
When did he tip over the table? When he was 12?
No, that was during his ministry period.
Yeah. And I think he did that twice, like ransacked
Yeah.
the temple.
Yeah.
Ransacked, I like that.
I know, not quite the
Is
right
that an
words.
NIV or-
More,
Yeah.
more like
New English.
yeah, he tore up the temple because it was being what he called a den of vipers instead of
A den of thieves. Yeah.
Right.
Because the money changers were all about making a profit rather than letting people worship. And the way those temples were set up, I had that picture up here before. No, this is fine. This is good.
Well, you see, we only had 4 verses.
Yeah, we have time for a rabbit hole.
Okay, we have our like inner temple. So around the temple, they have this little short wall. I'd say maybe 3 feet tall. Kind of went around here. This is in Jesus' time. This is the, I think, third temple. And this area out in here is kind of up on the temple flat. This is where all the God-fearers could be. This is where the non-Jewish people could come. They could not cross this barrier. Well, where were they doing the money changing and all the animals and stuff? It was all out in this area here where the God-fearers were coming. So these people that were wanting to come and approach God were being assailed by all kinds of raw stenches and greedy people trying to make money on them, which was turning them off from the whole worship of God thing. That's what set Jesus off. Anyway, I have totally lost my place.
We're on 41.
I'm kind of skipping around on this too.
Oh, I mean, it's right there, so it's not.
We already made it to 41.
Yep. So Luke doesn't tell us what the town is. It's just a village. But this is Bethany that they're at. So why was Mary's choice better than Martha's?
She needed to hear what he was saying.
Right.
Jesus is only going to be there for a little bit, so trying to hear every little thing that Jesus says is pretty important.
Right. We don't have, audio tapes of Jesus or anything, right? We have the writings. Luke, he wasn't there, but he obviously asked people that were there about what happened. The one thing you want to really draw out of this, though, because a lot of us can get really involved in our work. We can let it define us, whatever, we have to do this thing. But we don't want to get so busy doing the work of the Lord that we forget about the Lord of the work. You don't want to get so busy serving that you forget to spend time with him. You ladies here were with us a couple weeks ago, and I played the Skit Guys video. Remember when God's trying to get him just to sit still? And he's like, no, I got to be ready to do this. I got to be ready to go here. God says, I didn't create you to be a human doing. I created you to be a human being. Just be still. Know that he is God, right? So we want to, like I said, serving's good, but you do want to take that time to just sit there in his presence to kind of soak it in. You know, I do ministry, but I have several other pastors that I listen to, either YouTube or other ways, radio. That's how I get to kind of take in the word.
Yeah, do you have a pastor?
I have not a personal pastor. I have some pastor friends, but I do listen to, like I said, several of them on the YouTube and the radio and stuff.
You know, when I was a kid, I would have trouble sleeping or whatever. And my mom would say, well, when you wake up during the night, that's God waking you. And he wants to talk to you. And so pray to him. And I still do that when I wake up now at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I use that time to talk to the Lord. And I just have a way better sleep. And I wake up more peaceful when I use that time when I wake up to talk to the Lord. And it might only be for a minute or two. It might be longer. It's just nice to have that one-on-one sweet communion with the Lord.
Yeah, because no one else is trying to get your attention or whatever.
Yeah.
That's very good.
I wish that somebody would tell my cat that. Jackson wakes me up all the time.
So, verse 41, Jesus says, Martha, Martha. Whenever you see something repeated, it's for emphasis. You know, nowadays you'll hear someone call their kid and they'll use their middle name for emphasis. Well, here, Jesus has used the name twice. And he does this when he's talking to Peter. He's like, Simon, Simon. And there's some other people when he talks to him. When he's using the name twice, you want to pay attention. He's really wanting you to pay. It's kind of like when a kid comes up and they're like, Dad, 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 Dad. One dad may have done it. I don't know, maybe not. But they realize that if they say it like 5 or 6 times, you're actually paying attention to that point, and they can go on about their thing. So you are worried and upset about many things. Notice this too. A person who is heavily involved in service is going to have a lot more worries and concerns than a person who's heavily involved in worship. Because when we're worshiping, a lot of times we're able to just let God have that. Cast your cares upon him, right? But if you are the person, I'm kind of in this. I do a lot of stuff myself. I fix a lot of my own problems. And so I do worry about certain things I shouldn't. So if you're the person that's constantly doing it, then yeah, you're worried about how you're going to fix this next problem instead of focusing on worshiping God. And it can take your focus off of him. But what's really needed is just that closeness with God. Jesus told his disciples the same thing at another time. He was talking about how, the flowers of the field and the birds of the air, they all look beautiful, but they don't worry about what's going on. God takes care of them, right? He says, don't be worried about these things in life. Seek first the kingdom of God, and God will provide it to you. There's one last thing I want to touch on here too. You guys remember in the book of Revelation, the letter to Ephesus? So, actually, let's go there. Revelation chapter 2. Last book of the Bible, chapter 2. And it starts off the very first verse of chapter 2. You guys there? All right.
Yeah.
To the angel of the church in Ephesus write, these are the words of him who holds the 7 stars in his right hand and walks among the 7 gold lampstands. Take note of this now. I know your deeds, your hard work, your perseverance. I know that you cannot tolerate wicked people, that you have tested those who claim to be apostles but are not, and have found them false. You have persevered, you have endured hardships for my name, and you have not grown weary. So these are all positive things. He's praising them for all these wonderful things that they've been doing. Yet I hold this against you. You have forsaken the love you had at first. Consider how far you have fallen. So again, we can get so caught up in service that we can lose our connection to Christ. It's all about getting the work done rather than spending that time with him. And we
It's
want,
so easy to do, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much on your mind and so much on your plate.
And I think we live in a busy
Right.
culture too, you know?
Everybody's in a hurry.
Yeah.
Apparently it's not the same over in Europe. No.
A lot of countries, it's not the same.
No, Americans are very, very work-minded.
They say that Americans live to work, and in Europe they work to live. It's just a totally different mindset.
Maybe it's because it's such a young country here, and we did have to work hard to become a country and get where we are now.
It could be, yeah.
I
Oh,
definitely
We had to build up this country, you know?
don't work to live. I live to work. Even though I hate it.
I do too.
Yeah. I feel like I could have worked my life out, so I didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
But I didn't. Just the way you do it.
We have a lot of
Oh, man.
workaholics in this country.
Well, what do? We work so we can have stuff.
Yeah.
I got another 4 years to work now because of that stupid car.
Yeah, that is
What's a nice car? I like
exactly
it.
how it
How'd that
is.
go?
It's a
We
nice car.
work hard to buy things to impress people that in the end don't really care. It's like,
Yeah.
You see
Yeah.
the bumper sticker that says whoever dies with the most toys wins.
right. Yeah, that's not true.
No, no, it's not.
I'm working the next 4 or 5 years for my cars too. I'll do it with you, okay?
Okay.
There's one guy, I can't remember who it was, they said, your boss likes to see you buy a new car because it's pretty much guaranteed that you're going to be employed by him for the next 4 years or something
Exactly.
because you need the money. Yeah.
That's funny.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it is funny.
Did you ever get it financed? I know it's
No, yeah, later.
Yeah.
Later.
We didn't do prayer requests.
No,
We kind of skipped them
Yeah.
We
this
got
morning.
too busy.
I could do them
We
afterwards.
Get into it. Probably need to get into the Bible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So verse 42, few things are needed, or indeed only one. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken from her. It's interesting the way that he says this. I mean, on the surface of it, it's like, she's chosen this, I'm not going to send her out to work with you. But it seems like it might be even deeper than that she's chosen this relationship with him, and there's nothing that's going to take that away from her.
Yeah, I've heard that said that like nobody can take us away from God, we can only walk away.
Yeah. Nothing can pluck you out of his hand. Yeah.
Right.
I missed the verse that you're referring to. Is it 4?
42 says, but few things are needed, or indeed only one. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her.
See,
Yeah.
down here in the little, I can't remember what these things are called.
The
It
footnotes.
says some manuscripts, but only one thing is needed.
Okay.
Instead of, what does it say? But a few things.
Or indeed only one.
One thing is
Some
needed.
some versions I read did say a few things, but only one, or indeed only one. So yeah, 42. But few things are needed, or indeed only one. It could just be in how they're reading the Greek on that. So what is needed? Our relationship with Christ is needed the most. Our time with God is needed more. Our service will come out of that relationship because we'll actually start seeing things that God wants us to take care of, loving our neighbors and stuff like that. We'll see that out of the relationship and we'll go do it. If you're trying to approach God, though, through your service, there's an issue there. It's not like, I really messed up Monday and Tuesday. I better go do something for God to make up for it Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That's not how this works. We have a relationship with God first. He takes care of all the problems that we've messed up on.
Thank you, Lord.
Yeah.
Thank God. No kidding.
Thank God. Yeah.
Literally.
It kind of reminds me of this story that my coworker told me about. Her daughter was trying to be fiercely independent and put on her own shirt. She put it on backwards, and then she wanted mom to fix it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's funny. That is so light.
Yeah, because I've never put on my shirt backwards or upside down or inside out. You show up at work, you got all your seams sticking out. It's like,
I
oh,
know.
I goofed that one. Hey, at least I'm dressed.
I got dressed in the dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
I need to close this out.
Okay. Good luck with that.
I think I was starting to do that and got sidetracked. So service is good. Relationship's better. Thank you. Bye, YouTube.